Hello friends and greetings for the day. Welcome back to another tutorial on ISTQB Advance Test Manager certification. We are getting started with our next chapter, that is chapter 2, talking about the test management. I think that recalls a little bit from the foundation that we have covered a lot about test management and if you remember my tutorial, if you followed that for your foundation preparation. Of course, there were a lot of things I mentioned that you will cover this in advanced level, and it's time now to understand more about the same. Well, as a part of this particular section and this particular chapter, you'll be covering a lot of topics. You can see here right from 2.1 to 2.9, though 2.1 is excluded from the syllabus. But yes, at least a quick recall could be very important. And the main intention of this particular tutorial is to get into the 2.2, talking about the test management in context. And that's just not going to be context. Of course, there are a lot of things which we'll be exploring as a part of this tutorial. Now, the 2.2 is broken into a lot of things in detail to understand further. So here we have furthermore topics like understanding the testing stakeholders, additional software development activities which happens and what are the work products, aligning those activities with the other development activities, managing non-functional testing, experience-based testing, and defining and using the test matrix. There are a lot of such things which you need to take care of when it comes to certain things where being a test manager in the organization. Now, we are going to have a lot of things to discuss, so let's not waste much of our time and get started with the tutorial quickly. Now, the very first thing is quickly to introduce you to what exactly test management is all about. So, of course, at the advanced level, career specialization has begun to occur for the test professional. So, it's just not going to be theoretical understanding. It's going to be more of understanding that what exactly is happening around you and why it is happening. Is it really important to do that at this point of time, or it should happen much earlier in the life cycle? So a lot of such things will come across being a test manager to you, and it's really crucial for everyone to be there at any point of time. Now, this chapter focuses on areas of knowledge required by the test professionals as they move into a test leader or test manager and test director positions. In this syllabus, we refer collectively to these professionals as test manager put together. We are just putting it to one particular designation, understanding that different organizations will have definitely a different definition for the titles and levels of responsibility of each people in such position. To get started, of course, the very first part of this particular segment, we are getting into 2.1.2, that is test management in context. Of course, a central responsibility of the manager is to secure and utilize resources, be it people, software, hardware, infrastructure, anything to carry out any kind of value-adding services or process. Now, exactly being a manager, you need to take call on what kind of resources you would need, what kind of infrastructure you would need, and in case you have certain things with you, how exactly to manage them, what kind of a usage you must have in-house, what you can procure from outside, or probably make use of a remote lab. And there are a lot of certain things which you need to be sure about and make necessary decisions. For software and IT managers, the process are often part of the project or a program aimed to delivering the software for a system for the internal or external use. But when it comes to a test manager, the process are those involved with testing, specifically the fundamental test process activities, which we covered as a part of our chapter 1, talking about analysis, design, execution, implementation, and so on. Since the test process add value only by contributing to the overall success of the project or program, the test manager must plan and control the test process accordingly. Now, that's where you understand the worth of a test manager. Being a test manager, what it takes. Of course, you need to align everything in such a way that if you may have a simple test process, of course, but how consistently you look into that, how effective that process is. If you think that being a test manager, you have a vast experience with you to share with the organization and people, and of course you think that this process is not going to help us out in terms of getting more benefits within the limited time, then you need to look for any kind of changes which might add more value to your process. So that's more important for a test manager. Or, in other words, we can also say that the test manager must appropriately arrange the test process, including the associated activities and the work products, according to the needs and circumstances of the other stakeholders, their activities, and their work products, which completely relies on that. Like, there are a lot of things which happens other than testing as well, and how exactly it is going to impact us. For example, a software development environment is not ready on time, a particular build is not available to start testing, right? Or maybe certain requirement documents are not available to start analysis or follow the early testing principle. Then how exactly test manager should coordinate with the other stakeholders in order to coordinate and align their activities accordingly, so that things can go smoothly and on time, as of course, because we have got a schedule which need to be followed at any point of time, right? So being a test manager, you try to put everything in place. If in case not, then of course you try to make in place by making necessary control actions, and that's what you do being a test manager. Further, moving on to the next part, of course, we are talking about understanding the testing stakeholders. What is stakeholders? Of course, the stakeholder is anyone who holds a stake in your work, like some kind of share, right? He either depends on you or you are dependent on him. That's what you call it as a stakeholder. Now, people are any type of people working within your organization, having any kind of relationship with your project which you are testing is called as a stakeholder. So people are stakeholder of testing when they have an interest in these activities or the testing work products or the quality of final system or deliverable. Anyone who can have a control on that, or probably they would like to refer what exactly you're doing. The stakeholders' interest can be direct or indirect involvement in the testing activity. So not necessarily always direct involvement, but sometimes indirectly they are related to that and probably can be referred to the stakeholder as well. Now again, that depends on your organization. What kind of business model do you follow? And do you really call everyone a stakeholder or just limited people as stakeholder? Now it can be further, related to direct or indirect receipt of the testing work products. Testing work products generally stands for anything which you create as a part of your testing process. So in foundation, we have already covered various types of work products, like talking about test plan, talking about test control sheets, test cases, test execution logs, test summary report, test progress report. Lot many such things are there as a part of our work product, which many people would be interested in to see or measure, or even sometimes direct or indirect effect by the quality of the deliverable produced by the program or the project. So a lot of other things are there as a part of our work product, which we'll be getting into details later in the upcoming tutorials. Well, the test stakeholder vary depending on the project, the product, the organization, and other factors, but they can include these type of standard stakeholder list. What are they? Developers, development leads, and development managers. People from the development end or development team who are responsible for creating the product can be your stakeholders. These stakeholders implement the software in the test and receive test results and often must take action based on those results. So that's like, when you report a defect or, you report an issue, they have to rework on it and, resolve that issue and send it back to you for confirmation testing. Similarly, we do have architects like, database architects, system architects, and designers. These are responsible for designing the software, receiving test results from you in order to see that how exactly architecture is helping you out. So specifically, if you're talking about performance testing is completely dependent on the architecture and the code. So yes, that time the results will be very important for them to understand how this architecture is assisting. Marketing and business analyst. The stakeholders determine that the features, the level of quality inherent in those features that must be present in the software. Because of course, they are the one who know what exactly the requirement is, and they have to be worried about the way you are testing the product and finally what is that you are going to deliver. So they are also often involved in defining needed test coverage, reviewing the test results and making decisions based on the test results. So they are mainly from the point of like quality or point of schedule, point of delivery, and expectation setting in terms of acceptance criteria. So if you talk about your product owner, he consistently looks for that how much you have covered and how much more you have to cover. Are you following the right velocity? Will you be able to complete things, or kind of showstoppers which you are facing, which might be blocking a lot of your test cases? A lot of such things will be their area of interest. Senior management, product managers, project sponsors. Coming to the very high level team members within your organization, could be your customer as well, or representative of customers. So these stakeholders are often involved in defining the needed test coverage, reviewing the test results, and making decisions based on the test results. So here we are trying to understand that who all can be your stakeholder, plus what can be their involvement with your activities, so that you know your stakeholders better when you are certified with the test manager. That's not all. We have got some more. Project managers, of course. So these stakeholders are responsible for managing their projects to success, which requires balancing quality, schedule, feature, and budget priorities, of course. So these are from the point of like overall schedule determination. They often procure these resources required for the test activities and collaborate with the test manager in test planning and control. The other team also, there's someone who called as the technical support or customer support and help desk staff, who take care of your product when it reaches to the customer and customer raises a lot of concerns. So of course, the technical documentation team, which prepares the user manual for the product, or customer support team who addresses the queries from the customer's desk, and they need to know your product exactly, because they can actually give a lot of resolutions or troubleshooting steps right there on the call. Right? So yes, these stakeholders support the user and customer who benefit from the feature and quality of the delivered software. Now, there could be even direct and indirect users. These stakeholders use the software directly or receive outputs or services produced or supported by the software. For example, you have a product which is home appliances. So you are the tester, but the service team of this product is the indirect user of that. Right? Because they do make use of this product, but in terms of resolving or rectifying issues whenever customer faces a challenge. And your direct users are, of course, your customers and users who are making use of your product at any point of time. Well, these are some of your stakeholders, but of course, depending, as you saw that, depending on the product, project, and of course, your customer and type of organization you're working with, type of domain you are specific to, you may have different stakeholders. So you need to recognize your stakeholders and coordinate with them and support with the details what they will be looking at. So these are most important things for the test manager to determine at this point of time. Well, the list of stakeholders is not just comprehensive. The test manager must identify the specific testing stakeholders for their project or program at any point of time and coordinate with them. Well, that's all from this particular tutorial, team. Should you have anything else, feel free to comment below. We will be getting back to you with another set of tutorial. Stay tuned for that. Till then, keep learning, keep exploring, keep understanding the context. Thanks for watching the video, team, and happy learning.